Rounding out, Daniel Foster on the right-hand side, Death and Taxes, incorporating the new Mythic from Born of the God. Brewmass is a 2-of. That's a card I talked about yesterday where I felt it could have some legacy implication. As far as Honest Creatures go, actually matches up fairly well against True Name Nemesis, as attacking into it is still productive.
Yeah.
Alongside all the normal disruptive white creatures, Mother of Runes, Phyrexian Revoker, Thalia, Sarah Avenger, and Flicker Wisp.
So speaking to Bruce in between rounds, after round 5, he said, I'm 5-0, 10-0. 5-0 in matches, 10-0 in games. I've just been blood mooning everyone into the ground. You see he's going to sacrifice a Bloodstained Mire, go down to 19, and get a nice mountain. How do you feel about that mountain? I know you're a land connoisseur.
Not a huge fan of foils as a rule, but I do like the promo Saga one. If you're going to go with foils, that's a very nice call there.
All right. Is that Arena? I don't know if that's Arena.
It was an Arena promo, I believe.
Okay. So Mills does have just a mountain. You see an Ancient Tomb of City of Traders. He's got a gorgeous-looking Blood Moon in his hand as well. Now, Blood Moon, surprisingly good against this Death and Taxes deck. Better than I think you would think.
Yes.
Since they have a lot of non-basic. They have 9 planes, but all their non-basic lands making everything cost more. That's really the huge point of this deck.
So for those of you who haven't seen Imperial Painter before, basically what the combo is you try to assemble Painter Servant and Grindstone to flip over your opponent's deck.
Accurate.
Painter Servant can also provide some utility by setting everything to blue and then using multiple main deck Red Elemental Blasts as Vindicates and other forms of disruption. Playing a bunch of main deck Red Elemental Blasts isn't even the worst thing in Legacy because so many decks are base blue.
Yeah. So it fills this kind of weird niche in the metagame. And over the summer, through those 2 opens in Baltimore and in Cincinnati, where Suarez won and Bressler got second, that's when we saw a lot of Charlotte's Bug, Esper Deathblade. People basically say, I can play whatever spells I want, whatever mana I want, because no one's going to punish me. And then we saw people go, oh yeah, play Blood Moon. And then the games were just over.
Fast Blood Moons, fast Chalice of the Voids. There's a couple cards in Legacy that have a habit of keeping people honest.
Yeah. And you see a Blood Moon coming to play right now there for Mills. Of course, cannot attack with the Imperial Recruiter, as Mother of Runes will stop that from happening, as Foster's going to play a second Plains here. So Foster's not going to have any issue casting the spells, but the utility that he gets from the non-basic lands, be it Rashad Port, Wasteland, or Caracas, heck, even Horizon Canopy, not going to work this game. And now Mills, because those City of Traders are mountains, he can actually just play them as normal. And you see, it looks like he's going to be playing a Painter Servant. You see those blasts in his hand. He's got a Elemental Blast already. Here's a Painter Servant. He's going to name blue, of course. So everything in play is blue. And, of course, Painter Servant is as it comes into play.
Yeah.
So, there's no response. It's just as it comes into play, it names a color. And so because that Swords of Plowshare is blue, he's able to red blast it. But the Swords of Plowshare is number 2. He has no counterspell for it.
And it's really important for Daniel to break this up. He doesn't have a lot of relevant ways of disrupting the Imperial Painter combo. His major avenues of disruption are Swords of Plowshares on the Painter Servant, and then Phyrexian Revoker naming Grindstone.
Yeah. So Daniel has basically broken up step number 1 here, as he's going to play a Caracas Mountain. He's got Cavernous Souls, he's got Numazawa Shite in the hand as well. Looks like a Revoker in the grip too, so not so bad here, as there is the problematic artifact. So he's going to name with this. Probably Grindstone, could also name Sensei's Divining Top. We'll get confirmation for you guys at home as soon as we do know. Now, one card I think Mills does have in his hand is a copy of Ensnaring Bridge, I believe. I want to take a look to see if he has that main deck this weekend. Yeah, Grindstone was the card that was named, but there are 3 copies of Ensnaring Bridge in the main deck. And that's actually a really hard card, for Death and Taxes to be able to beat.
Yeah, not a lot of ways to get out of it.
So it looks like we are going to see Ensnaring Bridge show up to the party.
And you weren't kidding about the care put into this deck. We have a foil Japanese 7th edition Ensnaring Bridge, what I assume is a foil Modern Masters, Blood Moon.
Yeah. So I'm friends with Suarez on Facebook, and I have seen some posts that are just like, hey, does anyone have, this altered, different language foil spell skite? And it's just like, no, man. First of all, that comment has no likes and no responses. No one can find that card. And here's another copy of Mother of Runes. There was I think he was looking for one more card. His deck was almost done coming to the Invitational. I think he was looking for a really specific Jaya Ballard Task Mage. And there's yeah, I have a contact in Japan. on eBay who can get you what you're looking for $800. It was just absurd.
And you're seeing Daniel really do the Death and Taxes thing of being a reasonable amount of pressure, although Daniel right now is kind of sitting on his heels, but being annoyingly disruptive. A lot of decks in Legacy have a difficult time slogging through cards like Dahlia and Phyrexian Revoker, backed up by Mother of Runes to protect it. So Bruce is, he's drawn a lot of combo pieces. He's assembling a shop, but it's hard for him to actually go off here in the face of all this disruption.
Yeah.
The Ensnaring Bridge will give him a lot of time.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. That's all he needs is just a bunch of time, and he'll be perfectly fine. He just needs to get that hand empty, maybe find a Sensei's Divining Top so he can control his draw step, and then he can actually just play, for the most part, just the draw-go game and get the card out of his hand. You see he's going to search for another Painter's Servant and pass the turn back. So it looks like Foster's going to be able to get a pretty decent-sized hit in here as he draws a Rashad Port Mountain to go along with the Horizon Canopy Mountain. So we're going to see him equip Umezawa Shite onto Phyrexian Revoker. And in we go. Of course, those creatures aren't going to be the best of blockers, but it will cause Mother of Runes to actually have to tap to get protection from red, so not so bad. As there goes Revoker. 2 counters are going to be placed onto the Jite for the combat damage trigger.
So because Painter's Servant is a 1/3, the first Jite hit doesn't really matter too much for the purposes of breaking up the combo. The second one does matter.
Yes.
So Bruce is going to want to try to get his hand into such a place where the creatures that Daniel controls can no longer attack through the Ensnaring Bridge.
He just needs to get it empty. There's a Jaya Ballard. Kind of want to hold on to that one, actually.
Well, the issue here, of course, is that, if Bruce can only get down to 1 card in hand, then that Jite can move on to Mother of Runes, and then that can attack.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at 4 counters, which complicates matters quite a bit more for Bruce.
In a perfect world, Jaya Ballard is the last card that he casts, so that, Jaya Ballard is the last card that he casts. Maybe there are less than 2 counters on the Jite, so that he always has something to discard, and you can just deal 3 upstairs every single turn for the rest of the game. Now he's going to put Jaya Ballard out there right now. And that looks like just past the turn back here. So we'll see if Mills can find a nice game plan to get himself back into this game. Trying to figure out exactly what he can do to try to win this one. It's going to be tough. Jaya Ballard's going to bite the dust.
And I think Bruce is actually, in a weird way, happy that just happened, as it means that the Jite isn't going up to 4 counters this turn.
Sure.
That Jaya might have actually just been bait.
There's a Thalia. And that's going to resolve. Now Foster is going to remove Spirit Guide. I think Bruce may have been thinking, okay, you can't attack if I have 2 cards in my hand, but that's not exactly how it works. So a bit of a misstep there. And that may actually end up costing him here. We'll see.
Again, if he can't get his hand empty, this starts becoming a big deal.
Yeah. So that's a turn back. I mean, what he's really looking for is just to draw a land. Looks like another spell. Another Blood Moon. Yeah, he's just having some real difficulty getting the grip empty, excuse me.
Yeah, this is a weird problem for a deck like this to have.
Yeah.
We associate these red Painter and Mud mana bases with just being able to empty out their entire hand.
No such luck so far. Gonna name blue, ideally. Everything's gonna untap here. Looks like Mother of Runes. Gotta heat it up. Protection. Ooh. So I wonder what Mother of Runes gave protection from there, because now the Jite fell off. So it had to be, I guess it had to be blue?
Yeah, because everything's blue right now because of the Painter Servant.
That's a creative play. So wow, that's really, really creative. Okay. Now just 2 damage comes across and the Jite doesn't actually get to stay on. And because everything's blue and give protection blue, so he obviously can't block. Just pass the turn back here. So take a draw. That was the Sensei's Divining Top. Okay. Gonna spin this. He needs to find ways to get his hand empty. Lands, baby. See, the tough part is that removing that Simian Spirit Guide was actually acting as like a makeshift land, let him dump another card out of his hand.
Yeah, no, the timing on that Simian Spirit Guide was poor, of course. I think Bruce, like you said, was under the impression that would prevent Daniel from being able to attack. And right now the bottleneck is mana, so a pretty big cost there to lose that for nothing.
All right, so spin the top and pass it back. Take a draw. See the hand right now, Swords of Plowshares. Shot important, I think, Bramaz, but Bramaz is not going to have much of a role in this game. Here's an expensive Swords, take care of Painter's Servant.
2 mana being paid here because of the Thalia that Daniel controls.
That's going to bite the dust. Mills will gain a little bit of life here. There's Rashad and Port Mountain. And equip the Thalia. And we good. Ooh, Revoker. I guess Mother of Runes makes this attack perfectly fine.
Yeah, this is safe.
Yeah. I guess the question is, does Mills want to chump block here at all? He wants to save his life total a little bit.
Yeah, it's unclear if he'll get another opportunity to chump block because of the Jitte, so
yeah,
might as well. That Imperial Recruiter isn't necessary for any part of the combo. It's just a tutor piece, so you can just let it go.
All right, Top, what do you show us? Because we know the card coming. It's a Spell Skite. So that's going to show up. He's still having just big-time difficulty getting his hand empty. Pass the turn back. You see Cavern of Souls.
Mountain.
Yeah, Cavern of Souls Mountain. Here comes the Thalia. And of course, Mother of Runes, target creature you control. So Spellskite can't actually redirect that. First strike damage will resolve. GT will take up to 4. That's a lot.
And Spellskite, for as dominating of a presence as it is in Modern, not really a big player in Legacy.
Mm-hmm. You see the 2 counters are going to take down the Spellskite. See what the fob's going to be. Likely just Bramaz. Yep.
Boom.
New card. Pass the turn back. Spin the top.
We've seen a variety of Bramaz's casts thus far this weekend. We have yet to see one attack or block.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's going to be no exception.
Yeah. I've been waiting to see a cat come into play. It hasn't happened.
Spin the top does Mills on Foster's end step. Go to Bruce's turn. Takes a draw. There's a Grindstone.
And keep in mind that we're quickly reaching lethal territory here for
Yes.
Daniel. He can attack and then before damage, pump his creature with Umezawa's Jitte to avoid Ensnaring Bridge and tangling it.
And even though we haven't seen Mother of Runes come in, there are enough cards there that Mother of Runes attacking is perfectly legitimate as well. As Mills does spin top, takes a look. There's Grindstone, just passing the turn back here. So we've seen this attack would be for 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1 short of lethal, it looks like. There are 2 cards in the grip. Oh.
Oh, fancy.
Okay, I know how to play my Death and Taxes deck. He's going to shrink Bramaz into a 2/3, which means that can attack, which means the cat can attack. So this is going to be attack for 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was nice.
Yeah, this is nice for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
It also gets another 1 power creature in play.
Yeah.
In the event that Bruce is able to get down to 1 card in hand.
That was nice.
I did not see that angle.
Neither
That
did
was nice.
That also means that he can make Bramaz into an 0/1 and an attack with the...
Yeah.
And then attack with it, and the cat gets to attack.
Wow. You fancy.
Yeah. Indeed, Daniel Foster. His deck's fancy and his play's fancy. He's going to win this one. Does win game number 1 over Bruce Mills. Death and Taxes up a game over Imperial Painter. I salute you, good sir. Very nice play.
That was awesome.
I've got Mills' deck list in front of me. We'll take a look at the additional Ensnaring Bridge. He's got 3 in the main, 4th one in the board. To go along with 4 copies of Thorn of Amethyst, 2 Ratchet Bomb, 2 Manic Vandal, a Martyr of Ashes. Ooh, baby.
Ooh.
2 Pyroblast and a Affection Revoker. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Then 2 Koth of the Hammer. Well, I actually think Martyr of Ashes is really good here.
Yeah, I would expect so.
Yeah, I think that card is really, really good. The additional Ensnaring Bridge is really, really good as well. I actually kind of like Ratchet Bomb in this matchup. you could even make an argument for at least one of the Manic Vandals, so you can search for it with Imperial Recruiter, excuse me, to be able to blow up an equipment.
On the other side of the table, we're looking at a single copy of Linvala, Keeper of Silence, 2 Wiltleaf Lieges, a Disenchant, 2 Aethersworn Canis, 1 Spirit of the Labyrinth, the card we anticipated being, based on previous season, a 3 or 4 of in a lot of Death and Taxes lists. We only see a single copy in the sideboard here. And the Steering Bridge, 2 Enlightened Tutors. 2 Enlightened Tutors not uncommon in Death and Taxes sideboard, as they're often bringing in singleton bullets in the unfair matchups. 2 copies of Rest in Peace, a Sword of Feast and Famine, an Oblivion Ring, and a Manriki Gasari. The cards that stand out here very much to me are the Oblivion Ring and the Disenchant. Disenchant obviously breaking up the combo or any number of Bruce's problematic artifacts, and the Oblivion Ring also playing a similar role. I don't know if he's going to want to supplement that with his Enlightened Tutors. I suspect the answer is yes, as it's really important for him to be able to go get his Oblivion Ring in certain spots. So I would expect perhaps the Enlightened Tutors to be coming in as well.
I'm actually kind of curious to see who this matchup favors. Because Foster has such difficulty with Ensnaring Bridge, if Mills was able to empty his hand, I don't know if Foster can actually win that game. I certainly saw him get a little creative there with the GTA and the Vermaz, but I don't know what happens if he's able to just keep his hand empty, play Jaya, and then just every card he draws, he just goes 3 upstairs, 3 upstairs, 3 upstairs, if Foster can win.
Yeah, the thing is that the Imperial Painter deck, it's a lot of disconnected hands. There's a lot
That's
of different.
True.
There's a lot of different things going on here. You have this Painter Servant thing going on. You have this Blood Moon thing going on. You have this Artifact Synergy thing going on. There's a lot of disconnected draws this deck can get.
See both players shuffling up. Daniel Foster is, for whatever reason, because I used to PTQ around this area during college, it's just a familiar face to me. I don't know why. But it just feels like I may have played against him in some sort of tournament, or maybe he took a drive to Indianapolis for a PTQ or something. But you ever have that feeling where it's just you see someone in a tournament or you're doing coverage and you're just I know that guy.
Constantly.
Yeah, somehow I know that guy. And I have a feeling they're good at Magic. And so far, yes, is the answer. Obviously sitting here at 5-1, really nice play in that game that we saw. And Death and Tax is an interesting deck as well. Right now, how it's positioned in the metagame, you saw a lot of people move towards that deck for Grand Prix DC. Craig Wesco, unsurprisingly. Brian Kibler, maybe a little bit more surprisingly so, moving towards that deck. But it's been picking up on the Open Series. Been doing pretty well recently, too.
And for a deck that has just a ton of creatures in it, I actually think Death and Taxes has a pretty high skill cap. You can get pretty good at playing the deck. There's a wide range of how good you can be piloting it, because the creatures and the synergies of the deck are pretty nuanced and subtle. And so understanding all of the various tricks the deck affords you is a really important part of playing the deck proficiently.
Well, Mills is going to be on the play. He'll take a look at his 7. Looks like there's a Bloodstained Mire and a City of Traders among them. Also interesting, too, is I wonder how many Blood Moon effects he leaves in this matchup, because he knows he's playing against a deck that has a host of plains, 9 of which, but all the other lands are mountains, basically. I'm going to start off with the Bloodstained Mire yet again. There is a gorgeous mountain.
You can easily draw too many of those here, because there's a lot of matchups where Blood Moon or Magus of the Moon is just lights out against a lot of bug builds and similar decks where they often actually can't cast anything in their deck if it resolves early enough. Against Death and Taxes, it's a little bit different. Now, it can be disruptive against some of their utility lands, but you're not going to be locking them out of casting spells in most games.
I will say this, you just see Mills going to start off with the Sensei's Divining Top. I do like Blood Moon a lot in this matchup. I don't care for Magus of the Moons and Swords of Plowshares as a thing, but I actually think that Blood Moon is pretty good. Here's an Aether Vial, so yeah, best of luck. Blood Moon obviously not going to stop the creatures now because of Vial. Spin the top on the upkeep, Will Mills. It's the nice Vial too, from the vaults.
I'm not a big fan of the external promos.
Nice things.
That's not true. That's not what I said.
It's a great looking Vial. Alternate art and foil. What's not to love?
I can't explain it to you right now.
I think you could. You're just old school. We all
It's
know.
true.
We
It's
all
true.
know you're old school.
I am old and stubborn as a mule. I understand. That's part of the problem here.
Yes. We all know. It's okay. Just going to pass the turn back without playing the City of Traders. Does not want to open himself up to just getting Wastelanded reported right out of the ball game. As Vial's going to tick up to 1. You do see there's a Wasteland in Foster's hand.
And a pretty disruptive hand. You see some Swords of Plowshares, a Phyrexian Revoker. He's drawn the Oblivion Ring.
Just going to pass the turn back here. Death and Taxes is such an interesting deck to me, too, because, you know, a lot of people just kind of consider it white weenie, but it's anything but that. It's a white disruption deck.
Yes.
You know, it's not a deck that plays Isamaru, Savannah Lion. All of its cards have text that is a real pain for the opponent.
Yeah, the only thing in the deck that's really just a random beater, I would say, is Sarah Avenger.
Yeah.
Everything else is providing utility.
And I don't even like Sarah Avenger in the deck, personally.
I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah. I get why it's there.
I get it is charming. When you vial in a Sarah Avenger, it's look what I just did moment.
Yeah, it seems like cheating.
The first Legacy Open I play with, and this is very early on in the Star City Games Open series, I lost to an opponent who did that, and the look on his face when he vialed it in, he just looked so pleased with himself. So I understand the charm, but it feels a little out of place given what the rest of the deck is trying to do strategically.
Yeah. You know, at this point, you need a flyer to be able to get across True Name Nemesis, as you can't just ground
That's
pound it
very
anymore,
true,
so.
yeah. It's definitely better now than it was a year ago.
So City of Traders going to come in here for Mills. He's going to play Painter Servant. He knows that City of Traders is not long for this world. He'll presumably name blue. And is it a Swords? It is. So Mills will gain a little bit of life, but I think he'd rather have that Painter than that life. There's now a Vial here for one. Is going to put Mother of Runes into play. A Wasteland's going to take care of City of Traders, and Foster's going to untap, tick up the Vial at 2, take a draw, another Swords. And it's time to Vial in Phyrexian Revoker, named Sensei's Divining Top.
And so Bruce can respond to the Vial activation, but he can't respond once.
Once Vial activation resolves.
Yes.
Yes.
It says, now put something into play.
Correct.
That's a place where a lot of people get tripped up in Legacy on that operation.
Yep, Vial's a little bit of a different card, even though it works differently than you would think it would. As you see Revoker come across. You know, one thing you can actually do with it, and you see really skilled players do this, they just activate Vial at some point, and it forces the opponent to perhaps react.
Yeah.
Even when they have no intentions of putting anything into play.
Additionally, if you don't activate your Vial for multiple turns when you have nothing to do, when you do activate your Vial, your opponent now knows that something is about to happen.
Yep.
So a little tip at home, always activate your Vial.
Yes. Even though it's tedious.
And annoying.
Here's the Flicker Wisp. So that's going to eat that mountain.
So because of the way that the Flicker Wisp trigger works, the mountain comes back the following turn.
Yep.
And Daniel just with Disruption Overload sitting back on this really nice clock.
And he just has one land in play, but in reality he has a bunch of lands in play because that Vial's the thing that's providing the mana this go around. Other thing that's funny kind of about this deck too is that, you know, a lot of people kind of trash talk Mother of Runes as you see Mills is taking a look at it. But, you know, for you history buffs out there, Mother of Runes was one of the best one-drops of all time.
It is assuming the matchup is about creatures and removal. We're not talking about sneak and showing each other or ad nauseam each other. Mother of Runes is one of the most powerful cards in the history of Magic.
Yes.
It is that good.
It's a class of its own as far as creatures go. And the fact that it's one-mana creature is absolutely insane. As Swords of Plowshares is going to take care of Spellskite. Rashad Port is the draw here.
And that's that port is now the last piece of Bruce not really being able to operate in this game whatsoever.
Again, disruption, disruption, disruption. Disenchant your grindstone. Don't let you do anything, really. This is going to draw a card here. And he's going to pack it up and pack it in. Daniel Foster is going to win this match 2-0. Death and Taxes is moving on to 6-1. With any luck for Daniel, if he wins the next match, he'll be in the elimination rounds.
And if you can take any lessons from that, it's when Imperial Painter is uncontested, it looks like one of the best decks in the format.
Yeah.
But when it's playing against a large amount of really pinpoint disruption, it actually kind of looks like nonsense. If you look at Bruce's hand at the end of the game, you're almost thinking, what is going on here?
Yeah, what's the problem?
If you're not that familiar with the format.
Yeah.
Imperial Painter is one of those decks that's pretty robust in my mind against things like Hymn to Torak or even counter spells. But it really struggles to play against people with surgical, pinpoint, instant speed modes of interaction. Even lightning bolts are a little annoying to try to get through because it can destroy Painter Servant response. And Death and Taxes with no end of really fancy instant speed ways to interact with what Imperial Painter is doing.
As you mentioned, it's kind of disjointed, for lack of a better term, in what it's trying to accomplish. It wants to play a Blood Moon very early, but it also wants to combo you out with Grindstone and Painter's Servant. But it's also got, these silver bullets with Imperial